This person is standing at a crossroads, deciding whether to return, not in some distant future, but right now, tonight. Somewhere in a quiet space, your name lingers heavily in their thoughts as they weigh that choice. This isn't random. You didn't stumble across this message by chance. Something has shifted, something subtle but powerful, and you were led here because you're meant to understand it before another night passes in uncertainty. What most people never explain is what happens when someone truly believes they've lost you. The mind doesn't simply accept it and move on. It resists. It reaches. It looks for ways to reconnect, even quietly. In this message, you're going to see how that unfolds, how it appears, how it feels, and why it's already happening with this person. You were drawn here for a reason. Something within you recognized that you needed clarity, and somehow you found it. What they feel for you isn't routine or nostalgia. It's not something that faded into comfort or stayed out of habit. It's love. Real love doesn't just fall silent because someone decides it should. It doesn't disappear on command. It keeps rising even when the person carrying it tries to suppress it again and again. Simple admiration doesn't wake someone up in the middle of the night. Habit doesn't make someone rewrite a message over and over before sending it. Love does that. Love doesn't obey fear. It continues steady and unrelenting. You didn't imagine what you felt. Tell yourself that clearly. It was real. The bond between you wasn't created out of loneliness or wishful thinking. It existed and it still does. There's a reason it hasn't faded. Place your hand on your chest for a moment and notice the warmth there. That feeling isn't empty. It's the same kind of energy that stirs within them when something reminds them of you. A familiar song, a place you once shared, a phrase you used to say. It all brings that feeling back. That connection moves both ways, whether you see it or not. This connection hasn't gone unnoticed. It's been there from the start, present in every quiet moment and every unspoken thought. It exists even in the silence, even in the distance. And right now, something is changing. Beneath the surface, something is beginning to move again. They've noticed the shift. When you stopped reaching out the way you used to, it didn't go unnoticed. That absence spoke louder than anything you could have said. And now they're standing there deciding. But deciding doesn't mean they don't care. People who truly don't care don't hesitate. They leave without looking back. They don't linger in thought or struggle with whether to act. But this person hasn't done that. They're still here, caught between moving forward and turning back toward you. Inside them, there's a conflict. And that conflict only exists because what's at stake matters deeply. You are what's at stake. When someone feels like they're losing someone important, the first instinct is to reach out, but not always directly. They test the waters. They look for small ways to step back into your world without fully exposing themselves. They might check your profile more than once, linger on something you shared, or revisit moments connected to you. They might interact in subtle ways, something small enough to seem insignificant, but intentional enough to keep a connection alive. They may bring you up in conversation when it isn't necessary, or find indirect ways to gather information about you. Sometimes they'll make themselves briefly visible, just enough for you to notice if you're paying attention. It's not bold, not obvious, but it's not absence either. It's someone circling, trying to understand if it's safe to come closer again. Then comes the testing. Periods of silence followed by small reappearances. A casual message, something that seems random but isn't. A memory mentioned as if it just came to mind. Timing that feels coincidental but carries intention. They're watching for your response, trying to understand if the connection is still there, if the door is still slightly open. And if they can't find clarity in those small attempts, something deeper begins to show. The words may still be simple, but they carry more weight than they appear to. A question that doesn't really need to be asked. A message that hints at something unspoken. It's not dramatic, it's subtle, but it reveals what's beneath the surface. That's not weakness. That's love finding a way through. They revisit old conversations. They read messages again and again. They pause on certain words, certain moments, and stay there longer than they intended. They start to type something, then erase it. Try again, then stop. It's a cycle of hesitation and longing, of wanting to reach out but not knowing how. That's not the behavior of someone who has moved on. That's someone still deeply connected, still feeling something they can't easily dismiss. What exists between you didn't just vanish. Distance didn't erase it. Silence didn't end it. Some things don't simply disappear because time passes or because someone tries to let go. What began between you is still unfolding even now. What they feel isn't logical. It doesn't respond to reasoning or control. It doesn't fade just because it's inconvenient. It remains persistent and alive. At night, when everything is quiet, it becomes impossible to ignore. During the day, they may seem fine, moving through life as expected. But when the distractions fall away, what they feel rises back to the surface. That's when the truth is hardest to avoid. Something is shifting. Something is getting closer to the surface. And whether they act on it tonight or not, the decision they're facing is real, and it's happening now. During the day, they can keep it together. They stay busy, distract themselves, push everything down just enough to function. But when night falls, there's no control left. Night strips everything back to what's real. And what's real is you at 2 a.m. They're lying there, staring into the dark, unable to quiet their mind. By 3 a.m., your name feels like the only thing that exists in the room. By 4 a.m., nothing has changed. They're still awake, caught in that space between reaching out and holding back, unsure which fear is stronger. The empty side of the bed is just that, empty, but something in them keeps expecting it not to be. Logic says one thing, but something deeper refuses to accept it. They can manage their thoughts when the world is loud and busy, but dreams don't follow rules. In their dreams, you're everywhere, sitting across from them in places that don't quite exist, laughing in a way that's unmistakably yours. Not a memory, not an imitation, your actual presence, your energy, your warmth. In those moments, there's no distance, no barriers, no silence between you, just something real and alive. And then they wake up. For a few brief seconds, they forget everything. The separation, the silence, it's all gone. For those seconds, it feels like nothing ever changed. But then reality returns slowly but unmistakably, and with it comes that familiar emptiness. And the cycle begins again. The questions, the hesitation, the decision they keep circling back to. Their body reacts before their thoughts can catch up. When your name comes up, their throat tightens. Something small, something ordinary can suddenly bring you rushing back, and they feel it instantly. A drop in their chest, a shift in their breathing, a stillness in their hands. They try to keep it hidden, but their body doesn't cooperate. It remembers you too well. They've told themselves every possible story to make sense of this. That it's over. That it was just a chapter and chapters end. That time would erase the feeling that what they miss is just habit, and habits fade. That someone else would eventually take your place. That they made the right choice. That they're fine now. That what they felt was just nostalgia, something dressed up to seem more meaningful than it really was. But none of those explanations held up. Not one of them. Deep down, they know the truth they've been trying to manage. What they feel for you is still love. It hasn't disappeared. It didn't leave when they walked away. It stayed behind, steady and present, waiting in all the quiet spaces they tried to avoid. And something else shifted when you stopped waiting the way you used to. They felt that change. Whether they admit it or not, it reached them. It forced them to confront everything they had been avoiding. If they could speak freely, without fear, without hesitation, this is what would come out. I think about you every night. I didn't expect that to happen. I thought I could decide it was over and that would be enough. But deciding something and actually feeling it are two completely different things. I tried to move on. I filled my time, surrounded myself with distractions, tried to drown out the quiet, but none of it worked. You're still there. Always there. You're the last thought I have before I fall asleep, and the first one that comes back when I wake up. And in between, you're everywhere. I miss you in ways I can't even explain. Not just the obvious things, but the small, specific moments. The way you said my name, no one else says it like you do. The way you listened, like what I said mattered, like I mattered. I haven't felt that since, not even once. I remember how you looked at me. I remember the last time I saw you, what you wore, what we said, what I wish I had said instead. That moment replays more often than I want to admit. I keep wishing I could go back and change it. I remember the quiet mornings, the ordinary evenings that didn't feel ordinary when we were in them together. I remember what it felt like to be around you and not have to pretend, not have to be anything other than who I was. With you, I felt like that was enough. And I can't forget any of it, no matter how hard I've tried. What scares me the most is the possibility that it's already too late. That you've moved on, found peace, built something new that doesn't include me, that you don't need what I might try to bring back. I'm afraid to reach out and get no response. But I'm also afraid that you will respond. I don't know which is worse. I'm afraid of hearing your voice again, of seeing you again, because I know exactly what it would do to me. It would remind me of everything I walked away from. What if I lost something I can't get back? What if I broke something that doesn't heal? What if you look at me now and feel nothing at all? What if the chance I had is gone and I'm the one who let it disappear? I know I hurt you. I know there were things I should have said but didn't. I know my choices affected you in ways I didn't fully face at the time, and I didn't stay long enough to truly understand what that cost you. And that's something I have to live with now. I know I don't deserve to miss you the way I do, and yet I miss you anyway. I can't turn it off. I can't reason my way out of it. It just stays constant and undeniable. It feels like I'm losing the one person I was meant to hold on to, and that realization is heavier than anything I've tried to ignore. They saw something change in you. When you didn't fall apart, when you didn't chase or reach the way you once did, it didn't go unnoticed. That shift didn't pass quietly. It cracked something open inside them, something they had kept sealed for a long time. Now, here's the part you need to truly understand. The choice they believe they're making, whether to come back, whether to speak, whether to cross the distance between you, that choice isn't really coming from their thoughts. It's not being decided in those sleepless hours or in moments of overthinking. It's coming from somewhere deeper, a place beyond logic, beyond fear, beyond the noise of the mind. Some connections aren't created on the surface. They exist at a level where explanations fall short, where emotions don't follow rules. And something like that doesn't just disappear because one person got scared or stepped away. What was placed between you wasn't sluchino, it had intention behind it. Their mind might still be hesitating, still weighing options, still trying to figure things out. But something far older than that has already reached its conclusion. Before they even realized there was a decision to make, the answer was already there. And it hasn't changed. The silence you're experiencing, it isn't rejection. It isn't indifference. It's the sound of someone gathering the courage to face what they already feel. It's the pause before action, not the absence of feeling. It's not someone forgetting you. It's someone holding on to something so strong they don't yet know how to carry it. You were never the issue. Not then, not now. You weren't the confusion, you were the clarity. You weren't the mistake, you were the meaning. That hasn't shifted. There's something important you need to feel for yourself. Run your fingers lightly along your arm. Notice the warmth, the subtle awareness of your own presence. That same energy exists in them when something brings you to mind. This connection doesn't depend on constant contact to exist. It doesn't vanish just because there's distance. It remains because it was created with purpose. And they noticed you. They noticed that you're no longer the same, that something in you has settled, become quieter, stronger. That shift didn't just change you, it changed the dynamic between you. And now the next step doesn't belong to you anymore. It belongs to them because something inside you has evolved. You might not have named it yet, but you can feel it. The part of you that once felt uncertain has steadied. The part of you that kept reaching has gone still. The part of you that waited has finally let go of waiting. And in that stillness, something new has taken shape. There was a time when your mornings began with checking your phone before you were even fully awake, when your heart would drop at the absence of their name, when every notification made you pause, hoping it might be them, when you replayed conversations, searching for meaning, for clues, for answers you thought you might have missed. But that version of you is no longer leading. Now there's space where urgency used to live. There's calm where anxiety once sat. And in that space, you've become someone different, someone who no longer chases what is meant to find its way back on its own. And that is what changed everything. There was a time when you kept going back, replaying everything, trying to pinpoint the exact second it all started to fall apart. You would reread old conversations, searching for meaning hidden between the lines. Every word they said, every word you replied with, you analyzed it all, hoping to uncover something you missed. You made yourself smaller just to make space for someone who kept needing more. You apologized when you hadn't done anything wrong. You explained yourself to someone who wasn't truly listening. You kept the door open even when standing there drained you completely. You carried not only your own weight, but theirs too. You gave and gave even when nothing was being returned. But then something shifted. You stopped. You stopped waiting for a message that might never come. You stopped treating your phone like it held the answer to your worth. You stopped shrinking yourself to fit into an empty space they left behind. You stopped turning silence into something gentle and excusable. You stopped justifying things that didn't deserve justification. You stopped measuring your value by how quickly someone responded to you. You stopped asking to be chosen. You stopped holding doors open that only let cold air in. You stopped pleading, stopped negotiating, stopped trying to prove your pain and hoped someone would finally understand it. And in doing that, you became whole. Not because someone returned, not because anything external changed, but because you made a quiet decision within yourself, one that didn't need an announcement. You decided your peace mattered, that your mornings belonged to you, that your nights deserved more than waiting in silence. That transformation, and that was everything. Even from a distance, they felt it. They may not be able to explain it, but they know something about you is no longer the same. The version of you that used to wait endlessly isn't there anymore. And that realization unsettled something inside them. Because when someone senses they might truly lose what once felt certain, something instinctive begins to react. It starts subtly. A small sign here, a brief moment of attention there. Then comes the testing silence, followed by something casual that isn't casual at all. And eventually, the truth begins to slip through in fragments. A message that seems simple, but carries more weight than it shows. A question that opens a door they've been standing outside of for far too long. This pattern isn't random. It's what happens when something real is at risk of being lost. There's a name for the place you've reached now. It's the moment where you stop standing at the door, hoping to be let in, and instead you become the door itself. The moment you stop asking for someone to choose you and fully choose yourself, you cross that point. You might not have noticed when it happened, but it did. And everything began to change from there. You used to wait. Now you stand steady. That steadiness, that quiet strength is something they can't find anywhere else. It's something no one else has given them in quite the same way. What you carry isn't small. It never was. There's something vast about the way you love, something enduring. The same force that keeps the world in motion, that holds everything together, that same energy exists within you. You are not a small part of a small story. You are part of something much larger, something meaningful and lasting. Through every silent morning, every long night, every moment you questioned whether any of this was real, you were not unseen. Every step you took, every time you chose grace over bitterness, every time you carried your feelings without placing them on someone who couldn't hold them, you were seen. You were seen when no one else was there. In the quiet tears, in the unanswered questions, in the moments you kept going, even when it would have been easier to close off completely. And what you felt? It was real. Always was. You weren't foolish for loving deeply. You weren't wrong for giving your heart fully. That kind of love isn't weakness. It's rare. And rare things aren't easily replaced or forgotten. The distance, the hesitation, the fear, that's their path to walk through. That's their lesson, not yours. Their timing, their choices, their courage, that belongs to them now. What belongs to you is what you've built within yourself. Your peace, your strength, your wholeness. No one else's actions can take that away. No silence can undo what you've become. What's been placed inside you was placed with purpose, and it isn't going anywhere. You are no longer waiting. You are ready. And readiness has its own kind of pull. It draws in what aligns in ways you don't have to force or chase. Maybe it will come as a message you didn't expect. Maybe just a few simple words sent without warning. Maybe it will be a moment, a glance, a presence that carries everything left unsaid. Maybe it will arrive from a direction you stopped watching entirely. But whatever form it takes, you're no longer standing in the same place you once were. You've moved forward, and now you stand in open space that naturally fills with what belongs there. Every quiet victory, every moment you chose yourself, every time you kept your heart open without losing yourself in the process, it all mattered. It all shaped who you are now. You have always been seen. You have always been valued. You have always been loved by something far greater than just one person's presence or absence. And now you know it. You are whole. You are steady. You are ready. And whatever comes next will meet you exactly where you stand.